are normally cited. The Western governments draw on them for information about alleged human rights atrocities in countries that are considered to be enemies or rivals of these Western governments. And these include, for many, many years, countries like Iran, previously Iraq, now it's also Russia, it's also China, it's also Venezuela. So the US government, the British government, and the EU draw on these NGOs, these human rights NGOs, and their reports, their research, and so on, to justify their relationships with these countries that they regard as enemies. And even to the point, if you take countries like Afghanistan and Libya, even to the point of justifying invasions of these countries and, of course, regime change. So what I'm saying is that these reports have enjoyed, these organizations have enjoyed a level of credibility, which for many, many years, solidarity groups and even the United Nations was ignored about in relation to Israel and its atrocities against the Palestinians. So now it puts, politically, it does put these Western governments on the back foot and having to defend their positions in relation to Israel. And it plays a big role in arming us in dealing with these Western governments about this and their double standards and hypocrisy. And that, for us, is the importance of the reports from Amnesty International now, in this case, and which is why we want so much public exposure of this, including to put pressure on our own government to do something more meaningful in solidarity with the Palestinians.
Yes, Martin, I think the public exposure and also unpacking this report is absolutely crucial, because this report is fairly comprehensive, and coming from an organization like Amnesty International, who obviously have made it very, very clear with regard to Israel, with regard to its apartheid policies against Palestinians, and also this cruel system of domination and the crime against humanity that Israel has been perpetrating for a very, very long time.
Indeed so. Indeed so. And as I said, we can draw on this report, these reports, not only the Amnesty International one, and we can quote from them in our engagement and struggles against these Western governments in relation to the Palestinians' plight. And as we know right now, despite this report, and I think the other important thing to highlight is that what's interesting is that the mainstream media, Western media, the BBC, CNN, etc., have not really focused much on this report, despite the credibility of Amnesty International, which they, it's an organization that they use regularly on their programs. And that's quite interesting, the role of the media as well. And, for many years, PSC Cape Town, we've highlighted that even more than apartheid, and as you know, Professor Ilan Pape has often been quoted as saying that what we have in relation to Palestine and the Palestinians is in fact an incremental genocide. And of course, unfortunately, Amnesty doesn't pick up on this in terms of the UN definition of genocide. But nevertheless, this is, the scale of what's happening there against the Palestinians. So yes, the weight of this report is going to be very, very helpful. Just to also say that in South Africa, the PSC, along with Media Review Network and a few individuals, in 2014, we, one of our members, Mr. Safuddin Bester, reported to the SAPS and with the NPA the case of young South Africans, Zionist South Africans, Jewish South Africans, who were serving in the Israeli Defense Force. And that, for us, in terms of our case, and we've prepared another case against 13 South Africans who did the same last year, serving in the IDF, and of course the attacks on Gaza. And so we've developed a case that we're taking to the NPA for prosecution, including, the Anti-Terrorism Act. So these reports we can draw on to strengthen our case. And of course, the NPA, hopefully it will prosecute, but the NPA similarly can use reports from Amnesty International for cases, criminal cases against individuals like that who are playing the role of mercenaries in the IDF.
Well, definitely, Martin. In fact, I recall doing a program last week where this very issue came up, and this came up against the background of the Tulsi twins who were convicted and sentenced. But we've seen the South African Jewish Board of Deputies making a meal of this, and they had this massive article talking about these youngsters as terrorists and a threat to the country, a threat to some of the Jewish installations around the country as well. And this is one thing that came out very, very strongly. And I recall talking to somebody from the Media Review Network regarding the mercenaries, going into Israel, South African Jews going to Israel and fighting with the Israeli Defense Force. So, and this has been an issue that has been under discussion for a very, very long time. The government is aware of it, and also added to this, when we look at South Africa, we look at our airport, we look at Mossad agents at the airport, and also the whole question surrounding Israeli citizens coming to South Africa, not requiring visas, whereas Palestinians need to apply as well. So there are a lot of issues, and I'm sure this report will go a long way in addressing some of the concerns that we have with our very own government.
Obvious to everyone, every decent, peace-loving human being in the world, that Israel is a terrorist state. And there can be no doubt that those who support the state of Israel are complicit in that, in promoting it. So we also feel strongly that those organizations that are facilitating the recruitment of young South Africans to the IDF must be held to account. And the South African government must play its rightful role, unequivocally. It cannot favor, certain groups and handle them with kid gloves. If it's crime, it's a crime. And in this case, it's a crime against humanity. And the South African government needs to act as soon as possible.
Yes. Now, let's just talk about this event that is taking place, and it is scheduled for today, and that is from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And this discussion with Saleh Hijazi, absolutely important, and I'm sure there is a lot that Saleh Hijazi will be unpacking as the Deputy Director for Middle East and North Africa for Amnesty International, Martin.
Both Saleh and his colleague, his South African colleague, Shamila Mohammed, who is the Executive Director for Amnesty International in South Africa. Both of them will join us this afternoon at 2 p.m. For a presentation of the report, and of course then engage with those present, especially the media, to clarify certain things so that they can report on it more widely. But very importantly, we're going to discuss, what does it mean for solidarity with Palestine, and hopefully get some guidance from the discussion using this report in future. And it will be live streamed, and I can try and send you the details later, but I'm sure if the listeners go on to the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, our Facebook page, they can connect there with the live stream.
And just as far as the media is concerned, you mentioned the media. Have you reached out to the mainstream media in South Africa?
Yes, I think that's also been very, very disappointing. There's been very little coverage about this Amnesty International report, and hopefully they will respond and be there and do, what they are meant to do, is to report. So let's wait and see.
Well, once again, obviously, you should mention go onto your Facebook page, and that is the Palestine Solidarity Campaign Facebook page. And this is for anyone wanting to obviously watch the proceedings, and it is going to be streamed live. And we do encourage people, if they do have the time, to go ahead, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of useful information that will come through, and also a lot that will be unpacked, Martin. So, Martin, thank you very much for that. And are there any people that will be allowed to attend this event live at the venue?
Venue is not very free, and we've had to have an arrangement of people RSVPing and then us replying and accepting them. So we only allowed, I think, 30, 35 people, and I think those places are full already, so it's best for listeners and others just to get in touch with the live stream and follow the event from there.
Well, Martin, thank you very much for that, and for taking time out, sharing what you have with us, and talking to us this morning on News and Views at Salam Media. We wish you all the best for the event, and everybody else at PSC with regards to the proceedings that will be taking place this afternoon. Please take care.
Thank you very much.
Martin Jansen joining us, and just a reminder that this is a discussion with Saleh Hijazi, Deputy Director for Middle East and North Africa for Amnesty International. And this is the Amnesty International report on Israel's apartheid against Palestinians. And if you have not seen this report, this is a very detailed report. It is a comprehensive report which details Israel's apartheid against Palestinians as a cruel system of domination and crime against humanity. It is a comprehensive report. It is an investigated report as well. And what this report actually reveals is the true extent of Israel's apartheid regime, and whether the Palestinians live in Gaza, in East Jerusalem, and the rest of the West Bank, or even in Israel itself, Palestinians clearly have been treated as inferior racial group and systematically deprived of their rights. And this is what Amnesty International is saying. We found that Israel's cruel policies of segregation, dispossession, and exclusion across all territories under its control clearly amounts to apartheid. The international community has an obligation to act, and this came from Agnes Callamard, Amnesty International Secretary General. And there is just so much more with regards to this report, which identifies apartheid, also talking about the Palestinian being treated as a demographic threat, and also the oppression that is taking place, the lesser citizens, that they are regarded as a dispossession. We've seen that over and over again, the draconian movement restrictions, and also looking at the way forward, and also looking at the likes of the international world, and saying that the international response to apartheid must no longer be limited to bland condemnations. Unless we tackle the root causes, Palestinians and Israel will remain locked in the cycle of violence, which has destroyed many, many lives. So once again, just a reminder that this event will be streamed live. You can go onto the Facebook page of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, and it is taking place this afternoon, February the 18th, from 2 to 4 p.m. The time is just gone 8:44. We're going to go for a break, and when we come back, it's a time of the week where we bring you inspiration. And this is Jumma Nasiha that will be coming through with Maulana Zakir Jedwat from the Jamiatul Ulama KwaZulu-Natal this morning.